I've done over $500,000 in revenue in the past year, replaced both my income and my wife's income in that time, and have helped over 50 people make their first dollar in real estate through transactional lending. And in this video, I'm gonna compress 2 years and over 200 deals worth of brutal truths and lessons about transactional lending. Brutal truth number one, no one cares about how much money you have. Go find actual deals. There is an extreme misconception in the transactional lending space that it's all about money. Right? It's all about you have to have money before you can go lend money. And one of the biggest confusions here is really the difference between short-term lending and long-term lending. So in short-term lending, it's all about opportunity. In long-term lending, it's about letting your money work for you, right? So when we talk about long-term lending, private money lending is oftentimes the reference there. When we talk about private money lending, it's people that have a bunch of money, they probably work long hours, and they are not actually involved tactically in investing in real estate. They want other people to take their money and go do something with it, right? Which is great. And when you do that, because it's passive, it's hands-off, and you don't actually have to have any knowledge, you're just letting other people work for you, you're making a smaller return. Now, can you still make good returns? Sure, but you're making a smaller return. Now, on the other hand, with short-term lending, money is not the asset, right? The asset is the opportunity. Even if it doesn't work out, the opportunity, the ability, the potential to make 20, 30, 40% returns in a month, which is mind-boggling, that is the asset. So when you're getting started, the misconception here is that people think, oh, I have to save up money. A, or B, I have money saved up, therefore. When in reality, nobody cares about the money that you have in transactional lending. The only thing that matters is actually creating, generating, finding those opportunities that can give you the returns that you're looking for. So if you are in a position right now where you either have money and are looking to get into lending, or don't have any money and are using it as an excuse to get into lending, either of those redirect to the same path, which is just forget about that. That is not the main topic. Now, is money used in transactional lending? Obviously, yes. But as a lot of you have probably heard me say before, if you have a deal that can make 40% return in a month, I dare you to go struggle to raise the money for that deal. It will not happen. If everything is in place, if all of your systems are there and everything is good to go, you will not have any issues because that's just the easiest part of a transaction. Brutal truth number two, deals aren't hard to find. You are just hard-headed. The reality is everybody comes to me and says, transactional lending is saturated. I can't find any deals. I'm giving up. And that just isn't the case, right? Like, I don't know how to state this any clearer. Deals are not hard to find. The amount of times that I have made significant profits from simply opening up my Facebook, making a post, talking to people at a meetup, sending a text message is insane. It's literally what my business runs off of. And when I hear people saying that deals are hard to find, I have to immediately transition that. And I want to do that with you right now, which is, are they hard to find? Or do you not know where to look? Or even worse, are you not even trying? Right? A story that I've told before is that in my community, somebody said that they were really struggling to find deals. And I talked to them about it and said, well, what are you doing? And they said, well, I'm reaching out to 5 to 10 people per day. And then we talked to another person in our community who was doing a lot of deals, and we said, well, what are you doing? And they said, well, I'm reaching out to 100 to 150 people a day. And what did we realize from that? Well, the person who thought that it was hard to find deals was actually doing over 10 times less than the person who was actually getting them. So were the deals hard to find? Or was it just more work than you originally expected it to be? It was the latter. Right? It was the actual effort that was needed to put in. And then the second thing with that on actually putting in the effort is knowing where to put that effort in. People are so bad at writing and communicating, I have learned, both myself and the people that I work with. And so when you're looking to find deals, you have to be human. Like, transactional lending is relationship based. It's quick. You have to be able to trust people. Like, you don't give a crap who your mortgage loan officer is, right? As long as they get you the mortgage on the house, like, it's not a big deal. Transactional lending, you need somebody that communicates quickly, that's on top of things, that can do what they say they can do, that's willing to work through difficulties, that has experience. And you have to be that human for the people you're doing deals with. It's the reason why my business has been able to grow. And so when you're looking for deals, you have to make sure that you are being the human that satisfies those things for the person that you want to work with. So in the context of finding deals, the reality, the brutal truth is that if you are not finding deals, you are doing something wrong. That's not a problem, but it's reality, right? You are doing something wrong because I'm doing deals every day. I see other people doing much better than I am every single day, and they don't have some sort of supernatural skill, right? And the way that I like to frame that is that if other people can do it and they don't have some sort of a supernatural skill, they're not doing anything crazy, they're just working hard, then you can do it too. And once you can reframe and understand that, then you can refocus from complaining or saying this is too hard and just figure out, okay, what is the thing that I have to do to go start generating leads? And we can talk about leads for forever, but the truth of the matter, number 2 for today, is that the deals are not actually hard to find. You just need to shift your focus, stop being hard-headed, and realize that if it works for other people, it can work for you too. Brutal truth number 3, you're going to lose money, and that's okay. You are going to lose money lending. It is the reality, it is a guarantee in the lending space. It's just how it works. When you get into lending, you can do low risk opportunities and still lose money. It happens all the time, right? Now, in transactional lending, it's much higher risk, higher reward. And what is risk? By definition, in this space, it's the potential, right? The possibility of you losing money. And I'm here to share the brutal truth over my many deals in the last couple years, which is that you are factually going to lose money. Things are not going to work out the way you expect them to, and you have to be prepared for that. As an entrepreneur, as a business person, and as a transactional lender, if you are not prepared to lose money, if you're not prepared for things to go wrong, here is your brutal truth that they will. And you need to either prepare for that or admit to yourself that you are not willing to go through those things and quit trying. Because when you get into lending, you are moving quantities, potentially large quantities of money around at all times. And for those of you that are hearing this and saying, but Ryan, you've showed us how to protect our money and all that stuff. Absolutely. But I've never said and will never say that that protection is guaranteed, because it's not. Every single transaction that you do has risk involved. There's inherent risk involved. People can sign contracts and not follow what they said they could do. Title companies can breach contracts. Attorneys, everybody can breach these things. It's not necessarily set in stone. And even when you follow every single step required, you are going to lose money. So once you're willing to admit that, understand that, take that in, then the question becomes, okay, are you willing to push through despite those circumstances? Are you willing to continue on in learning despite the reality that you can end up in those tough situations? Because if you are willing to do that and you admit to yourself that it's possible, then when you get to that spot, is it going to make it easier? No, but at least you can look back and say, I knew that this was going to come eventually. And the reality is, when times are good, you know that something's coming right around the corner. That's just the world that we live in. It's how it works. And if you're going to be taking those risks, then that's the reality. Now, my caveat to brutal truth number 3 for you is that if you are not willing to take those risks, you can partner up with people to eliminate that risk. Now, what happens when you partner up, right? Let's say you go find a transactional lending deal, you find a big double closing, $1 million double close, we're gonna make a bunch of money, and you bring it to me instead of doing it on your own. What does that do? Well, you make less money, right? Number 1, but you also remove that wall of stress, because who's taking on the risk now? Me, right? I'm taking on the risk. I'm bringing the funds. I'm setting everything up. I'm handling communication. And so when you do that, you eliminate that risk. And so the caveat to losing money is that if you don't want to lose money, never lend money, right? Never lend money and never be responsible for somebody else lending money. And if you do that, then you will not lose it. But just like with anything, the higher the risk, the higher reward. If you want to offload that risk, that's fine, but understand that you're not going to really build a full-fledged business in the long run just trying to avoid what is going to be reality at some point. Brutal truth number 4, quit giving pointers to people who know more than you do. Oh my gosh, this is one of the worst things that I see in people attempting to generate leads, attempting to build a following on social media, attempting to create content. It is just so incredibly ineffective. Now, I could go on about popular and successful content forever, but the brutal truth is that there are so many people out there who know more than you do. And there are so many people out there who know more than I do. And if all I'm trying to do is teach people things that they didn't ask me to teach them, that is not going to get me very far. Now, what can you do instead of trying to teach people this? Actually, let me give an example of what that looks like, right? If you make a post on Facebook, wholesalers, you're leaving money on the table, right? Wholesalers, this is how you can make more money in your business. It's garbage. They don't want to hear that. They are not looking for that. And the people who are making money aren't reading your post, and the people who aren't making money are not reading your post and getting the value that they need in the position they're in. This all comes down to targeting. It comes down to understanding your audience. It comes down to all of these specifics. So instead of giving pointers to people, what is the easiest thing to do, regardless of if you've made $1 million or you haven't made a single dollar? Just talk about yourself. Talk about your own experiences. Talk about what you're doing. Let other people take a peek inside of your life, into your systems, into your processes. Learn from you in that manner, because then you don't have to worry about saying something stupid. You don't have to worry about saying something offensive, and you don't have to worry about saying something that's not going to benefit anybody else, because you're just talking about your own life. So in the context of trying to generate leads and creating content, there's two things I'll say here. If you go from trying to speak to a broad audience to speaking directly to one person, that is going to 10x the effectiveness of your content, right? The word wholesalers, for example, is this vague term that goes over all people that may or may not consider themselves to be a wholesaler. But if you just say you, right? I'm talking to you right now on the camera. You guys understand that a lot of people might watch this video, but when I'm talking, who am I talking to? You, directly. I'm talking to you. And so when you're creating content, if you talk directly to somebody and you change your tonality in that way, then that's step number one. And then step number two is don't try to educate people on what they need. It's the doctor trying to give you a diagnosis before you've even gotten your checkup, right? They have no idea. That's what a lot of you guys are doing on social media. You're trying to tell people what their problem is before you've even asked. So if you want to actually solve problems, if you want to form real relationships with people, you have to reverse that process. Just like a doctor, just like any system. Figure out the problem first, then diagnose the problem. And if you can transition from talking to somebody and doing that instead of trying to be an expert in something that you're probably not an expert in, you will go 10 times further. Brutal truth number 5, raising capital is not hard. You are just bad at it. Raising capital is not difficult in the transactional lending space. It is by far the easiest part of any transaction is raising the capital, no matter the size. That is like the final step of the equation. And a lot of you listening and a lot of people I've spoken to spend all of their time trying to raise capital and no time actually creating the opportunities with which capital is needed, because raising capital is not hard. As I mentioned earlier, when you are doing long-term deals, that kind of raising capital is tougher because it's relationship based, right? Let's say you need to take out a 5-year private loan on a rental property you're buying, right? You're gonna be connected with that person for 5 years. You're gonna likely be paying them every single month. You're gonna be giving them updates. You're gonna be sharing what's going on with the process. You wanna have a relationship with that person. Alternatively, when it comes to transactional lending, people do not give a crap who you are, because they're gonna lend that money. They're gonna make a crap ton of money in like 20 minutes, and then they can move on with their life. Now, they will likely want to form a relationship with you because you just created a killer opportunity for them that most people can't find. However, raising that capital will not be a difficulty for you at any point, as long as A, you have opportunities, and B, you know what the heck you're talking about. That is all you need. So if you can go generate opportunities, and you can actually understand what those opportunities are, and then the final leg to that is that you can have the credibility to say, I have done this before, right? Which, what does that require? Likely it requires you to work with a partner. Ooh, big scary, right? You might not make as much money on your first couple deals. Bring in a partner that knows what they're doing, and then you can leverage that experience to go say, hey, yeah, guess what? I did a deal literally last week, right? That's one of my favorite lines, especially when I was getting started. My first couple deals, I did a couple deals in a week, right? It was the most deals I'd ever done in a week a while back. And I found somebody the next time, that next week, right, that was looking to do deals. And they said, well, you know, I'm looking for somebody that can be consistent. And I was able to show them, even though I hadn't used my own money, I was able to show them deals that I had done the prior week and said, yeah, you know, here's a couple deals that I closed last week, right? I'm the most active person you'll ever find in this. Why did I have that credibility? Why did I have that proof? Because I was doing the thing, and then I was sharing what I was doing with them. And if you can do those things, if you can be confident, if you can be credible, and if you can create the opportunities needed, then raising capital for transactional lending, we're talking 30 days or less, EMD, double close, Morby methods, all the things that I talk about. If you can do those things, raising capital will be in the blink of an eye. Brutal truth number 6, the algorithm doesn't hate you, your content just sucks. If you are somebody who is posting on Facebook, posting on Instagram, posting here on YouTube. If you're doing any of those things, trying to generate leads for your business and you're not having success, do not for a second blame that on some sort of an AI, robot, algorithm piece of something, okay? That has nothing to do with whether or not your content gets seen. This is a lie that I used to believe. It's a lie that I hear a lot of other people complain about. It has nothing to do with it. If your stuff is good, people see it. It is that simple. Now, may it take time sometime? Yes. But in the world we live in now, with short form content, you can post something and get 1 million views in 20 minutes if it's good. Same thing on Facebook, right? A lot of you watching this, myself included, use Facebook as a lead generation source. When you are posting on Facebook, if nobody likes and comments on your post, it is so easy for people to say, oh, it's the algorithm, it's this, it's that, whatever. But the thought I always go back to is if my Facebook post in bold at the top said, whoever sees this and comments on this post is gonna make $1 million. I will give you $1 million. Do you think that post would do well? Yes. Why? Because what the algorithm is looking for is not whether or not your post is good, it's whether or not other people think it's good, right? The algorithm reacts to people liking, commenting, and seeing your post. And so if you make high quality content, then people will see it. And if you don't, that's fine, right? These videos that I make are not great. Most of the things I've created aren't great. But I make improvements. I learn. I look at what's working. I look at what's not. And I continue to try and improve those things to make them the best that they can be. And even though I may not be some viral sensation, at least people can see what I'm doing and actually learn and understand. And most importantly, I get opportunities to lend on other people's deals through creating these videos and creating win-win scenarios for them. So if you are somebody right now who has tried to use content, whether it's for lending or other businesses, and it's not getting seen, just make it better. You probably do not understand what it looks like to make good content. You do not understand the amount of time that people that create good content put into the things that you will never see. The amount of iterations they put into their titles, the amount of iterations they put into their hooks. People pay tens of thousands of dollars for thumbnails on YouTube videos, for titles for their videos, for hooks on their Facebook posts, right? For editing on their Instagram reels. Like, people pay so much money for these little minute details that can make a world of a difference. And you just want to come up and throw up this post on Facebook real quick and nobody sees it. And then you think the world is against you. That is not reality. The reality is you just aren't putting in the time, the effort, and the actual work that it's going to take to be successful. And when you're willing to understand and accept that truth, then you can stop spending all of your time complaining to yourself and actually just go put in the work. Brutal truth number 7, one-time money will never get you the freedom that you desire. This is the one I want to close out this video with because I think it's one of the most important things for you to understand. When you are trying to achieve financial freedom, when you are trying to quit your job, when you are trying to supplement your income, the first couple times that you make $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, feel amazing, as they should. Kudos to you. It is a huge accomplishment to make money outside of your job, especially when you're getting started, because it's a whole different world, right? But once you've done that, you have to realize that even if you made $5,000 last month, it's not going to change your life unless you can predictably make that same $5,000 this month and the next month and the next month. Otherwise, you either aren't going to have the security you need, or you're going to think you have the security you need and then put yourself in a position where you're really struggling and you're really grinding and potentially getting in bad spots because you have crafted your life around these one-time expenses. So when you look at lending, when you look at wholesaling, like a lot of you have done, when you look at these other business opportunities, and I'll kind of let you inside of my mind a little bit on how I decided to do the things that I'm doing now. When I made $10,000 wholesaling, it was great. But the next month, that money did not turn into more money. Right? In the business world, we call this LTV, lifetime value, right? So the lifetime value of that person I worked with was just that one deal because they sold that house and then they were gone, right? That is wholesaling in a nutshell. Now, can they come back? In theory, yes, but it rarely happens, right? In lending, on the other hand, from the get-go, the first 3 people I worked with, all of them I did multiple deals with in that first month. So I have already taken my LTV, my lifetime value of the people I'm working with, and exponentially increased it from wholesaling, because now these people are coming back to me to work more, right? They are doing the work. It goes from B2C, where I'm going business to consumer when I'm wholesaling, to B2B, where I'm going from business to another business. And those other businesses are the ones that are in that kind of rinse cycle, right? They're going and generating more leads. They're going and doing more deals. And I, as the lender, can just say, hey, come to me when you have your next deal. And the brutal truth, the brutal reality of a lot of investing, especially active investing, which is real life, unlike passive investing. When you are in active investing, you have to make the conscious decision, and at the bare minimum, at least have an understanding that that one-time money is great, but you can't get that one-time money this month and then predictably say you're going to get it again the next month. And if you can't predictably say that, then you need to work on restructuring your business so that you can, right? What can make it more predictable? Is that you just have more traffic, you have more clients coming in? Is that you work with better clients, right? In the lending space, are you working with people who are actively doing deals, they're doing bigger deals, they're ambitious, they're growing their business so that you can grow yours alongside of them? If you can look for those opportunities instead of the one-off opportunities, then you'll go from feeling good in the moment to feeling a deeper sense of actual faith and trust in the operation that you're building, knowing that next month you can grow, you can build on that, right? This is the compounding effect that so many people miss, is that if you can predictably say you're gonna make $5,000 every month from one client, now next month you can set your goal at $10,000, right? Instead of making $5,000 and then making your goal just being, I have to get back to that 5,000, right? Now you can actually grow, compound, build your business. Resetting from zero is an absolute dagger. Resetting from zero every time you close a transaction, every time a month ends, and having to rebuild just to hit back to that number is a very unsustainable way to survive. And that's why in business, you want to look for either recurring revenue or reoccurring revenue, right? Now, in the transactional lending space, it's reoccurring, right? It's not recurring. You're not going to make the money every single month from the same person, but it's going to reoccur. That person, if you do everything right, if you play your cards right, is going to come back to you again and again. It is going to reoccur over time. And then you can go from, let's say you make $2,000 off of a deal with somebody. Their lifetime value is not $2,000 like that $2,000 you made wholesaling. Their lifetime value is that they come back once a month. And so every single year you can make whatever that is, $24,000 working with this person, right? And if you can do that, then you can all of a sudden start to have more predictability. You can start to hire, you can start to grow and expand your business. And so if you understand the reoccurring nature of transactional lending and the truth that one-time payments are not going to change your life, they're going to get you started, they are going to motivate you, they're going to do all of those things. I want everybody to get their first deal and feel what that feels like. But once you get past that, the brutal truth is you have to create reoccurring, predictable revenue to continue to grow, to continue to expand, and to get closer to whatever your goals are. So if this was able to reframe the way that you look at your lending business or even just lending in general, please share it with people that might benefit as much or maybe even more than you did, because that's literally the only way I know what you guys want to see more of. Use this as motivation to cut the crap and get to work.